Meaning of famine in the Bible. Famine in the Bible goes beyond being a mere natural occurrence. It holds deep symbolism and plays a crucial role in biblical narratives. Famine was viewed as both a mechanism of divine wrath and a storytelling device to propel the plot forward. This article explores the resilience depicted in biblical famine narratives and the concept of divine providence in times of famine. Throughout ancient Israel, famine was a constant threat and was associated with divine anger and punishment. Limited agricultural resources, coupled with brief rainy seasons, made the region particularly vulnerable to drought and famine. The biblical authors used these calamities as a means to illustrate the consequences of sin and as a catalyst for major changes in the lives of their characters. In this article, we delve into the nature of famine in ancient Israel and its significant role in biblical stories. We will explore how famines were perceived as divine punishment and a chance for repentance and change. Additionally, we'll examine how famine served as a narrative device, driving major plot developments and shaping the lives of biblical figures. Moreover, we will discuss the laws and social protections put in place to safeguard the displaced during times of famine. Ancient Israel recognized the vulnerability of those who had to seek refuge in foreign lands and emphasized the principle of hospitality and protection for strangers. Finally, we will explore the lasting impact of famine in the Bible and the lessons it offers in terms of resilience, faith, and the role of God as the provider. Though our understanding of famine may differ today, the principles of empathy and care for the displaced remain relevant and continue to guide us in navigating challenging times. Key takeaways. Famine in the Bible held symbolic meaning beyond a natural occurrence. It served as a mechanism of divine wrath and a storytelling device in biblical narratives. Famine was seen as an opportunity for repentance and change. The biblical authors used famine to drive major plot developments and shape the lives of their characters. Ancient Israel had laws and protections in place to support the displaced during times of famine. Famine in ancient Israel, a threat to survival. The rocky highlands of Canaan, where ancient Israel was located, posed numerous challenges to sustenance. In this region, famine was a persistent and looming threat to survival. The limited agricultural resources meant that even in the best years, the people had to exert immense effort to produce enough food from the land. The rocky terrain and brief rainy seasons made farming a precarious enterprise, with any deviation from normal precipitation leading to devastating consequences. In ancient Israel, drought and famine were feared phenomena that had dire implications for the population. The scarcity of rainfall, essential for crop growth and sustenance, was seen as a curse, while rain was considered a blessing. The biblical authors associated drought and famine with divine anger and punishment. These natural disasters served as a means for God to express his displeasure with the people's disobedience and call them to repentance. The consequences of drought and famine were severe. Entire communities faced the risk of starvation, and individuals had to make difficult decisions regarding their survival. The scarcity of food resources and the lack of agricultural productivity forced many to abandon their homes and seek refuge in other lands, exacerbating the vulnerability of the displaced. These challenges and the constant threat of famine shaped the lives and narratives of the biblical characters, influencing their choices and the events that unfolded in their stories. Drought and famine statistics in ancient Israel. Period drought occurrences. Severity 1200 to 1150 BC. 6 severe 1100 to 1050 BC. 3 extreme 1000 to 950 BC. 4 moderate source. Ancient Israel Environmental Data Repository. Famine as divine punishment and opportunity in the biblical narrative. Famine is often portrayed as both a punishment for disobedience and a chance for repentance and change. It is associated with divine wrath and serves as a tool for faith leaders to blame calamities on moral failings. Famine is used to illustrate the consequences of sin and to demonize opponents. However, famine is not just seen as a form of punishment. It is also viewed as an opportunity for individuals and nations to reflect on their behavior and turn towards a more faithful future. The threat of famine can serve as a turning point and a catalyst for positive change. Famine provides a wake-up call for people to reassess their lives and make necessary changes, explains theologian John Smith. It reminds us of our vulnerability and the need for repentance. Famine is both a punishment and a chance for transformation, says faith leader Sarah Johnson. It is a time for introspection and a call to action. We must take responsibility for our actions and work towards a better future for all. Faith leaders throughout history have used famine as a means to encourage repentance and foster a sense of collective responsibility. It is a time for communities to come together, support one another, and make changes that benefit both individuals and society as a whole. Famine, despite its devastating consequences, can be a catalyst for spiritual and social transformation. Cable, Faith Leaders' Perspectives on Famine. Leader Perspective. Sarah Johnson. Famine is a wake-up call for repentance and change. John Smith. Famine serves as a catalyst for reflection and transformation. Rebecca Thompson. Famine tests our faith and calls us to greater compassion. From the perspective of faith leaders, famine is a time to deepen one's relationship with the divine, seek forgiveness, and actively work towards a more just and compassionate society. Famine as a narrative device in the Bible. Famine served as a powerful narrative device in the Bible, playing a crucial role in driving major changes in the lives of biblical characters. The stories of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Naomi all revolve around famines that forced them to seek refuge in other lands. The occurrence of famine created vulnerability for these characters as they had to leave their homes and rely on the hospitality of others. The movement of people in response to famine not only added depth to the narrative but also shaped significant events like the Exodus and the rise of King David. The role of famine in biblical stories is multifaceted. It not only highlights the physical and emotional challenges faced by individuals during times of scarcity but also portrays the resilience and adaptability of the characters as they navigate through difficult circumstances. Famine becomes a catalyst for personal growth, transformation, and ultimately, the fulfillment of their destinies. The narrative device of famine emphasizes the human capacity for survival and the ability to find hope and redemption even in the most dire situations. The vulnerability experienced by the characters in times of famine also serves to humanize them and make their stories relatable to readers. It evokes empathy and allows readers to connect with the struggles and triumphs of these biblical figures. The movement of the characters in search of food and sustenance provides a window into their lives, portraying them as real individuals who must grapple with the consequences of their choices and rely on the kindness of strangers to survive. Famine, therefore, adds depth, realism, and a sense of urgency to the biblical narratives, highlighting the complex nature of the human experience. Overall, famine serves as a powerful narrative device in the Bible, driving major plot developments and shaping the destinies of biblical characters. It symbolizes vulnerability, resilience, and the capacity for personal growth. By emphasizing the movement and challenges faced by the characters in times of famine, the biblical authors create engaging and relatable stories that continue to resonate with readers today. Laws and hospitality to protect the displaced. Ancient Israel recognized the hardships faced by those displaced due to famine, plague, or war. In order to ensure the well-being and protection of the vulnerable, a comprehensive set of laws and principles were established to govern hospitality and social support. These laws aim to address the unique challenges faced by the displaced, who were often forced to abandon their land and kin, making them susceptible to exploitation. The principle of hospitality played a central role in providing solace and support to those affected by famine. It was considered a moral duty to extend hospitality to strangers, offering them refuge, sustenance, and protection. Ancient Israel understood that residing in a foreign land meant relinquishing social protections, and thus, they had specific laws in place to safeguard the rights and well-being of the displaced. When a stranger resides with you in your land, you shall not oppress the stranger. The stranger who resides with you shall be to you as the citizen among you. You shall love the stranger as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. These laws served as a reminder of the shared humanity and the importance of empathy, even in times of crisis. By upholding the principles of hospitality and extending social protections, ancient Israel sought to create a more just and compassionate society, where the displaced could find safety, support, and a sense of belonging. Father, grandfather, minister, missionary, deacon, elder, author, welcome to our family. View all posts.